I lost my parents. That pain made me who I am. I spent a lifetime trying to right the wrongs of the past. As if fighting crime would bring my parents back. You actually did it.
Okay, so the internet's just been hit with a brand new trailer for The Flash, and throughout this video, we're going to be breaking down the Easter eggs, hidden details, and things you missed in it. This won't be a beat by beat thing of what happens in the teaser, as it does cover a lot of things we've seen in the trailers before, with a couple of different shots and things to flesh out what's happening. Therefore, I kinda want to go through all the elements of it and explain exactly what I think is happening in the movie. I also want to talk about some of the plot leaks and cameos that are apparently going to feature in the film, but I'll be saving that for the super spoilers section come the end of the video. The Flash is also screening at CinemaCon, so I'm hoping at some point we'll hear more about the movie, which we'll of course keep you updated on if you stay locked to the channel. Make sure you subscribe for that, and also please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy the breakdown. Now, the film will loosely be adapting the graphic novel Flashpoint, created by Geoff and Andy Kubert. In the comics, this somewhat gave the DC Universe a soft reset, and a similar things happening here with the movie heralding in James Gunn's DCU. Now, the book saw Barry Allen waking up to find that the world around him had vastly changed, and along with his mother now being alive, there was no more Justice League. Bruce Wayne also wasn't alive, and instead Thomas Wayne had taken up the mantle of Batman after his son was shot in the alley. Martha had become the Joker, and both Themyscira and Atlantis were at war with one another. Flash ended up teaming up with Batman, and together the pair went on the search for Superman in order to stop the war between the two nations, destroying the entire planet. Now, in this dimension, it seemed like there was no Blue Boy Scout, but they discovered that he'd actually crash-landed on the planet and that the government had kept him a secret. Rather than landing in Kansas, Supes' ship had shot down a Metropolis, and since then he'd been kept in a bunker, seeing nothing but red sun energy. This had dulled his powers, made him completely weak, and therefore he wasn't the person that we knew in the main timeline. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Well, the movie is clearly taking certain elements of this basic outline in order to create its storyline. We clearly have Barry going back in time, his mother still being alive, there being an alternate version of Batman, and all this stuff with Supergirl. Yeah, by the looks of it, she will be the one who's being held by the government, and we do see her confined to a cell looking malnourished. We also see her suit crumpled up on the ground at one point, and it's possible that this is the same person who crawled out of the open pod that we saw at the start of Man of Steel. And for this movie, it looks like they've changed things up to Russia, as the prison garments we see her wearing have the language on it. In the comics, Supes is just known by the name Subject 1, and here it looks like she's being kept at an Arctic outpost in overalls, which is why they've locked her up and thrown away the key. Similar to Supes in the comics, her powers are given to her by the sun, and this enriches a Kryptonian's physiology so they have strength, speed, and stamina. It also allows them to get the other abilities that the Kryptonians have, but being kept away from it drains them of their powers. Krypton actually orbited a red sun, and this is why it was chosen as a way to keep the Kryptonians grounded. Now, judging by the way that Supergirl appears in the trailer, I'm guessing that a similar thing happens to the way it does in the source material, with Barry and Bats rescuing her. He completely cuts through the forces, much like what Supergirl does, and I think it's going to be a big scene that introduces her in the film. Now, in the comics, the group were also joined by Cyborg, and we know from behind the scenes stuff that Ray Fisher was supposed to be in the film. There's been a lot of things going on with his treatment on the Justice League set by Joss Whedon, which is now public knowledge, and because of all of this, Fisher won't be in the film. There's a lot of things to go into that we don't really have time to, but I think it's a shame because Cyborg's a pretty big part of the original story, and I'm guessing most of his lines and so on will be given in the second Barry.
I can't imagine what you've been through.
I love you, monkey.
You lost both parents in one day.
Barry! Call 911 now!
I went back in time to save my parents.
But instead, I completely broke the universe.
If you went back and changed the past,
This world must die.
You changed the future.
Do you know what this symbol stands for?
Means hope, right?
I will help you fight Zod.
Now, the second Barry looks like he's possibly going to be riffing on the Reverse Flash, and we know that there is going to be an evil alternate Barry Allen who shows up in the movie. The Funkos have already spoiled it. It wasn't me. They've spoiled that there's a dark Flash in the film, and there are several shots in the teaser where you can make out the evil speedster. In the comics, Barry discovered that the Reverse Flash had followed him into this timeline, and the villain left a slight trace of himself in some CCTV footage. Though he could move faster than the camera could ever pick up, he did this deliberately because his ego had to let Barry know that he was there amongst them. He showed up at the end when the world was going to hell, but it was at this point that it was revealed it wasn't him behind it. Instead, he showed that Barry had doomed the world in trying to save his mother, and he was simply there to just rub it in his face that his attempted act at heroism had been something selfish. This ultimately destroyed that entire reality, and thus he showed up to boast and basically be like, "What a fucking chump you are." Now, whether the second Barry becomes him or not might be a misdirect, but either way, they do use his colour yellow throughout the trailers. You might notice that the Barry from the main timeline is always framed in blue, and this carries across from the scenes with his mother dying, the outside of his house, and even the colour of the world around him when he taps into the Speed Force. His lightning bolts are blue, and this colour has clearly been picked to show this is our Barry. Now, on the opposite side of this, we have the second one, who has everything appearing in yellow. Again, we see this reflected in his childhood home, clothing, headphones, and also the lightning when he taps into the Speed Force. Now, in the comics, when Barry broke the timeline, the version he woke up being didn't have his powers. This is because when his mother died, it didn't lead to the butterfly effect of him receiving them in a lab accident when he was older. Thus, he had to recreate it with Batman at Wayne Manor, and after an initial failure, this eventually led to him getting his powers back. However, it seems like they've switched up the powerless storyline to the second Barry, and at some point we see the pair in a lab with lightning passing through one into the other. Now, in the comics, they have a moment where Barry was on top of Wayne Manor waiting for a lightning bolt to hit. We have a shot where the Batwing's up in the clouds, and then a lightning bolt descends down from a rope on it, which may then hit Barry and pass from one into the other. Might be a Batwing, might be a Batarang, might just be a kite, and they could be doing a sort of Benjamin Franklin / Back to the Future nod with that. On top of this, there's also a shot of Supergirl flying up into the clouds with Barry, so she's potentially charging up after one of the power-up attempts fails. I'm guessing that this is how Barry 2 gets his abilities, and then he'll end up getting an old Batman costume, spray painting it red, and then filing down the horns on the top of the cowl. This has been shown in some of the Funkos, action figures, and posters, and even when they do the boot-to-boot shot, you can notice that this is the one from Batman Returns. Now, it is possible that the timeline here also gives away what's actually going on with this version of the character. Potentially when Barry time travels, he goes back to the point before he got his powers, and this would roughly be the year 2013. Now, why could it end up being this date? Well, we have a strong emphasis on Zod, who returns for the film. Rather than being from an alternate timeline, this may be the version that was first encountered in Man of Steel. We see his message to Earth from the "You Are Not Alone, I Am Here With You" scene, and also the desert one that pops up in that film. We also get the World Engine, and Zod at one point pops a blade out of his gauntlet like the one he used to kill Jor-El. I think we'll be seeing a lot of things pop up from that movie, but obviously Henry's version isn't there because this alternate timeline has Supergirl. Kinda reminds me that this movie is relying very heavily on the Snyderverse for stuff, when DC have sort of treated it like the cousin you pretend you don't know because they're a fucking idiot. Go back to the loft, Benjamin. My mates are coming round. Anyway, we get a recreation of the scene in the desert when Zod demanded that Kal-El be handed over. However, it looks like Barry and Batman's plan isn't to give Supergirl over, as they know it just leads to the World Engine attack. Therefore, I'm guessing they refuse, and this causes Zod to lash out and attack the military. Now, potentially, we are getting multiple timelines merged together with Barry's shenanigans, and this is how we can have Michael Keaton's Batman and Michael Shannon's Zod. There are rumours we're also getting other cameos as well, which we'll talk more about in that super spoiler section.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Now, we are also getting at least 2 versions of Batman in the film. The first of these has been Affleck's version, and this will likely be his last time in the cape and cowl. I know that's been said about the actor numerous times here, but since his cameo has now been cut from Aquaman 2, I'm guessing that this is the last time. Now, the suit he'll be donning is a new grey and blue one, and this is very similar to how it appears in some of the comics. This is the first time it's been done in live action though, and it actually shows that they can pull this look off. My guess is that his appearance probably opens the movie, and it looks like he and Flash are both working together in daylight to stop an attack on a hospital. At one point we see the Earth cracking at one, and if you look closely, you'll notice a sign that shows this is connected to Martha Wayne. It seems like a massive chase with Bruce dropping down out of a Flying Fox airship that appeared in the movie Justice League. I think it's that one. Don't know if they're going with a smaller version, but yeah, it is called Flying Fox, so let's not split hairs. You're being a bit of a dickhead if you do that, mate. Now, we know that we will get him appearing with his mask off as well, and Barry can be seen saying that he could fix things, whilst Bruce argues he could destroy them. You might notice that Barry's wearing a shirt and tie along with a waistcoat, which he also wears when he's on the phone. On his finger, we can see the flash ring that houses his suit, which we too have had shots of when this opens up. Anyway, I'm guessing that Ben's Bruce tells him to proceed with caution, and this is due to the ramifications that it could have on the time stream. You have to remember that this version of Bruce actually met Barry for the first time in the Batcave, and that was due to that Barry travelling back in time. He of course came from the Nightmare timeline, which Bruce has of course dreamed about, so he may be wary about him messing with things. It's a shame Warner Brothers can't learn that lesson either, but Barry tries to turn back the clock to have the life he should have had with his mother. We do see a family photo at one point, and this echoes the one that Michael Keaton's Bruce also touches. If you look at his fingers, you'll notice that they're all bruised up, but I don't think that this is from fighting. We've seen the other wide shots of this scene with Bruce from behind, and you can tell that the character has long hair, showing that he's probably been out of it for a long time. When he gets back in the suit, his hair gets cut short, and this sort of follows The Dark Knight Returns, in that we had an elderly Bruce who'd retired from being Batman, finding himself drawn back into it. He had grown a mustache, but he subconsciously ended up cutting this, and this was when he decided to put the cape and cowl back on. I think a similar thing might happen here with this wider shot, potentially confirming that Bruce is now retired. Now, touching this photo also seemingly opens up the Batcave. Having a photo of his parents being what opens the doorway up to it brings a lot with it, as Bruce has to see them every time he touches it. Bruce made a promise on their graves that he'd make it so no one would ever have to go through what he did, and he's very much reminding himself of this every time he opens the door up. Now, inside of it, we've already seen that there are several other Batsuits. This includes one that appears to have guns in it, which could be a Batman Year 2 reference, or it may be a callback to how he was in the 30s when he'd just go around shooting people. Now, we also have a Batsuit with a damaged bat symbol on it, and this is how it appears at the end of the 1989 movie. There's another grey and blue one, and also an underwater one, alongside what thinks the Batman Returns suit. On top of this, we have a suit with goggles on it, which looks like it might be this timeline's version of the Nightmare suit. Anyway, the Batcave itself also has a couple of things in it that could show timelines merging. We know this one has a waterfall in it, which feels like it's pulled out of the Nolanverse rather than being part of the Keaton universe. Either way, in here we have a Batwing which is riffing on the 89 version, and also the return of the iconic Anton Furst Batmobile. This car still looks incredible, and I'm so glad to see it returning once more into the DC universe. Batman is breaking out his old Batsuit as well, and we get this iconic line.
You are?
Yeah. I'm Batman.
Now, a really nice touch behind him is that you can see the lights flickering in and out, and symbolically this is showing that he's a bit rusty. Also got another Funko from this movie of Batman that's got him in the suit bust up really badly, so we might potentially see him coming close to death at some point, and it'll be interesting to see how he's utilised in the film. In the comics, this was of course Thomas Wayne, and before Barry returned home, he ended up giving him a letter to deliver to his son. They can't really do that here because it's Bruce and an alternate Bruce. I don't think that Barry will even be returning to that timeline with Affleck in it. Either way, seeing them both in the same film is something that's going to be really cool, and obviously that's definitely the major selling point of this movie.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
I have to undo what I did.
These scars we have make us who we are. We're not meant to go back and fix them. Don't let your tragedy define you.
What did you do?
No matter what we do, we're not going to be able to fix this.
No! Nobody dies!
You're strapped to your parachutes.
Where's yours?
Now, other little Easter eggs include Barry's room, which has a Pacific Rim and I Am Legend poster in it. Both are Warner Brothers properties, with the latter also featuring a Batman v Superman poster. So, like when people watch these movies, does it have the poster in it? Because how would they know about Batman's... Anyway, we also see Wayne Manor and the Bat computer looking exactly like how they did in the 1989 film. They've even got that old tech like a record player there, and the Batwing hanging up, which then descends like a bat dropping out of a cave. Michael Keaton says, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. KP Nuts, sponsoring the channel, make sure you get them now." And yeah, that of course pulls from the first film when he said it to Jack Nicholson's Joker. Now the Easter eggs include Zod's henchman jumping up to the Batwing, which looks exactly like how it did when he did that in Man of Steel. He smashes the glass, but whereas he ripped the guy's head off in that, Batman instead dives out and then glides down. We also close out with a shot of the Batwing against the moon, and this is another nod to the Tim Burton movie when he did that in the film. Now that wraps up the trailer, and you know what, I'm gonna say it. Hype might be blinding me, but I think that's one of the best trailers that I've ever seen. It completely nailed the tone of how I think this movie should be. It feels epic from the off, and yeah, there's just so many elements in it that really feel like they're gonna knock it out the park. We of course haven't seen the movie, but judging by this, it's gonna be the best DC movie since The Dark Knight. Ha ha! So that wraps up the trailer, and I'm guessing from now on we'll just be getting TV spots and variations of what's been shown with a couple of extra things. I am wondering if they're gonna Shazam to it and blow their load by showing the cameos in the trailers, but there are some really interesting ones I want to talk about in the plot leak section of the video. Huge heavy spoiler, that's coming up now, so be careful. And huge heavy spoilers for that, so if you don't want to know anything, then I highly suggest you turn off now. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button on the way out, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace. Okay, so if you checked out our last trailer breakdown, then you'll know we talked about there being a rumoured Batman appearing at the end of the film. There was lots of things going on with it, with reports saying that it could be Christian Bale, Val Kilmer, or George Clooney. Well, things have actually been whittled down now, and apparently Clooney's version will pop up at the end, with it being played off as a joke that shows Flash can travel to any universe. I always thought Clooney was a recast of the Kilmer version, which was a recast of the Keaton version, because they had the same backstory, Robin, Commissioner Gordon, Alfred, and well everything, but I brought that up on the last video and people kicked off saying, actually, Clooney's another version of the Batman that was completely different, which I don't know if that's teenagers retroactively inventing the multiverse for older films, because it's not how I remember, but here we are. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the film, and My Time to Shine Hello has also reported that there's going to be another big cameo in it. I'm unsure exactly when this happens, but it has been said that Nicolas Cage, yes, Nicolas Cage, will be popping up as a version of Superman in the film. Cage was of course cast as him for the ill-fated Tim Burton Superman Lives, and if you haven't seen the documentary in the film, then I highly recommend you check it out because it's f***ing wild. And I'm guessing that at some point Flash will run through the time stream and pass by something that shows these alternate realities and references to other movies, but we're gonna have to see. Anyway, that wraps up the video, and of course let me know your thoughts on the trailer and what you want to see in the movie. We are running competition right now, giving away the Quantumania Steelbook to 3 subscribers on the 15th of May, and all you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the teaser. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out one of our breakdowns on screen right now, which will be going over lots of things that you definitely want to see. But if you like me, you like what I'm talking about, yeah? We all love these nerdy things, so there's something on screen right now for you, so head over there right after this. Out of the way, thanks for sticking through the video, I've been Paul, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.